And ready? Okay. I'm Jim Graham, Bangalore 2, class of 1972. I graduated on June 5th, 1972, and on June 19th, I went to work for Mills College. And now they're suggesting that I might like to retire early because I've been there so long, I have too much seniority and they have to pay me too much. I'm head of the audiovisual department, and I also, as of July 1st, will be director of the theater. I moonlight at a private high school in Oakland where I teach technical theater and where I crusade to all my students that they need to do international studies when they go to college, and I've had some success. Though I've been at Mills for 32 years, I continue my international work. I have done 2 tours on Semester at Sea, and I'm happy to say I think I'm the one who told Larry Meredith about Semester at Sea, and he's about to do his second voyage. What I got listening to everything that we heard this afternoon is how incredibly indelible the Callison experience was for all of us, and whether you went to India or to Japan. A couple of people I want to say a special something to. One is Boyd Mathias, who, if you had ever told me when I was a student at Callison that I would have the same job at Mills that Boyd retired from at UOP, I would have said that couldn't possibly be so. My first evaluation from Boyd started out, "It is obvious you are not destined to be a science major." But I did pass. I returned to Bangalore in 1990 just for a very brief visit, and while I was on the Semester at Sea program, and a few days later as we sailed to Kenya. Gee, that sounds romantic, as we sailed to Kenya. The secretary in the program that I was working on, who was a wonderful woman who I don't think had ever been more than 50 miles from Gunnison, Colorado, said to me, "You were so brave. You just got on that train and went away." And what we learned at Callison was we can do anything, we will do anything, and I'm so glad to be here with all of you and see so many people, some of whom I haven't seen for 32 years. And I hope it isn't another 32 years before I see all of you again. Next.
Okay, I'm going to speak up. I'm a professional facilitator and trainer, so hopefully you can all hear me. My name's Pamela Leary. I'm the person who went to Japan, and I came to Callison in 78, went to Japan in 79, and never came back, essentially, from Japan until 7 years later. So I lived in Japan for 7 years. I lived in Southern Africa for a year. I did work with documenting human rights abuses in South Africa when I was there. I came back to the United States and had a horrific case of culture shock. Now you have to remember, I'm a farm girl from Modesto, California, who now lives in Manhattan. So I've kind of taken a little bit of a tour here. But when I came back to the United States in 1987, I just had this colossal case of culture shock, and then went back and lived in Japan for another year, worked for Intel. But what it taught me was about, the real hard adjustment in and out of culture. And so essentially what I've been working on the last, since 1988, 87, 88 timeframe, is orienting people from other cultures to the U.S. and helping U.S. folks go outside the country and work in multiplicities of cultures. And I also was very interested in diversity, the diversity in our own country. And so I also do diversity facilitation, and I lead the diversity and intercultural strategy efforts for Mellon Financial Corporation. So I'm based in Manhattan, have an office in Pittsburgh. But I've had the blessing in my life to do intercultural and global training and walk side by side with African American colleagues, Mexican American colleagues, Indian colleagues, and just hear everyone's story. And because I heard so many great stories through my life, I actually did go to the Iowa Writers Workshop, and I have an MFA in creative writing from there. And I hope someday that when I'm not running around the world doing consulting and training, that I'll actually sit down and finish my book. But that's me.
Georgie Weston, Bangalore 73, didn't graduate, so I can't claim full alum here. This is what it was all about for me, and I'll put this photo out on the table later. This is a woman and her child selling probably chilies off of a dirty mat in the Bangalore market. And what impressed me about this was the look in their eyes. There's an incredible amount of warmth and soul. And that's what attracted me to Callison. That's what took me to India. And that's what's been a theme in my life ever since, was seeking out what creates and maintains warmth and soul in the human family. So that's been my study ever since. It's taken me a whole bunch of different places and different themes that I won't detail here, but it culminated in my finishing my education 2 years ago at John F. Kennedy University in Orinda, where Boyd will be gratified to know that I studied quantum theory and systems thinking and actually graduated magna cum laude. I wanted to challenge myself a little bit because we'd done all the right brain stuff here, and I want to do the left brain stuff before I finished. I have 2 children. The first was born here in Stockton, so I stayed here a long time. He has now completed his first book of haiku and is working on a stand-up comedy routine, which is what he hopes to do when he grows up. My daughter has already been an exchange student to Japan. And my kids, when they sum it up, they say, "Mom, Dad likes to get stuff, but you like to get experience." And I think I get the better end of the deal. For me, this little rock sums up a lot of what my experience has been up till now. It's from E.E. Cummings. It takes courage to grow up and turn out to be who you really are. Dope. To all of us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mike Fleming, and I'm the class of 75. And like B, I also did not go to India, did not go to Mexico or Japan. And I really don't have, I have some regrets about that, but I don't have regrets. Larry Meredith and I, as it turned out, have a mutual friend in Reverend Cecil Williams in San Francisco. And Cecil says, you know, you got to go through some stuff. And I think that's one thing I've heard in this room, in the room next door. Everybody's gone through some stuff to get wherever you are today. And I think Callison gave me a lot of skills to go through some stuff. The first experience at Callison I'm remembering is going to the retreat in Santa Cruz. And we had a professor from UC Santa Cruz come and say, you know, you guys don't need to go to India to experience poverty. You can see it right out here in the valley. And, you know, I've been through some stuff in the Bay Area. I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff. Professionally, when I left Callison, I was qualified for a minimum wage job at Radio Shack. And so I decided, you know, I may need to learn some skills. I went to Laney College and I took 18 units in electronics, carpentry, stagecraft, and music. And I think, you know, people just say, you can't take 18 units. I go, well, sure I can. Well, not only was I doing that, but I was mixing for a band at night and I was throwing the Chronicle in the morning. And I got to say, Callison gave me great skills in how to function under extreme sleep deprivation. But I keep going back to some of the skills. And, you know, one thing I heard this morning over in the lecture hall was about values and core values. And I think that's what I came away from Callison with. The classes in Gandhianism with Joan Bondurant. I came out of this institution believing that I was an agent of change, and that's what I've tried to do. Right now, I've been self-employed for 10 years as a itinerant film worker in the Bay Area, do events and video production. And for the last couple of years, I've been teaching at Academy of Art. I've been teaching film students. And one of the things I try to impress upon them is, you know, if this doesn't work out, I can always go back to brain surgery, and everybody laughs. And, you know, I say, but no, you know what we do in communication, change communication, is brain surgery, because if you don't change people's hearts and minds, then what's the point? And I think that's one of those core values I came away from Callison with. So I'll leave you with these 3 simple words that came from Gandhi. God is truth is love. And I really feel that here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dow Griffith, class of 72 and Bangalore 2 y Merida 2 también. And I just got back from India, where I was working on a feature film and had a tough assignment in Goa on the beaches. And I picked up my interest in this, well, before I came to Callison, but Before I came to Callison, I was interested in filmmaking and had been to 2 universities and had the pleasure of traveling through about 15 different countries. But I was looking for something specific. I was looking for a place that would allow me to blossom with the interest that I had, which was travel, communications, and anthropology as it grew up into. And I couldn't find anywhere. I looked quite a bit until I found Callison. So it turned out to be a real gem for me. So now I specialize specifically in location management in foreign countries. I typically will find myself deep in the jungle with a tribe that I didn't know before existed, negotiating for the rights to do peculiar things, things that they may not understand, and neither do I. Or on the top of a glacier, or in a desert in the Middle East, or wherever. And there's not a day that goes by when I don't think of the things that we were being taught here in Callison, largely because I'm still wondering what they mean, but still working out that complexities of kinesics and proxemics and the eternal recurrence of the same. But the part that of my quest for an education that was so meaningful to me was to basically look for something, because I was quite well directed in what I wanted to do, and if it wasn't for Callison, I probably wouldn't have found any single place. I would have had to patch it all together by going around to numerous institutions and trying my best to do the job that was waiting for me here. So thank you.
Kathy Tysinger and I were talking this morning about the importance of someone writing a history of Callison that would integrate a lot of your stories as well as the objective history of the college, and she has agreed to take on this task if she gets, Kathy, if she gets what she's now going to tell you you'd have to do to make it possible.
Well, first of all, don't expect too much too fast. As I was listening this morning to the stories, very important things are involved here. As some of you may know, I'm also very interested in the history of experimental education. And this strikes me as an opportunity to blend 2 passions at this point. And so during the day, and this is literally not even a day old by way of a thought, thinking about how to conceptualize doing a story of Callison. I can't do it, however, without your participation. That's the model that's in my head right now. So what I wanted to get today was a sense of, first of all, are you willing to help produce that book? Or whatever it turns out to be. And if you are willing to go along with what is beginning to form in my head, if you would stay in touch with the dean's office here. I've talked to her and she is encouraging. Then at the point at which I begin to rack in your materials, she will have a way of getting in touch with you. But I think it could be a very interesting, and I think, have the title for whatever it is we end up with, and that comes from Job Thomas this morning. If I can remember it exactly, it was a terribly risky experiment. And I think that's the theme. And we go from there. But if you are willing to be patient with me while I get things, I've got 2 other projects that are on the burners right now and I need to work on. But that will be right next to it. And if you're willing to go along with this, and my long-suffering, for those of you who haven't met, I went through my entire career, nearly 40 years, as a loner, a solo practitioner, and last August I married Walt McIntosh. You could say I'm a slow learner, but he will be a partner in this as well. And this is his first, first real chance to get the fever for Callison. And I haven't had a chance to talk to him today, but I think probably he can be very helpful. And as you notice, he's been taking notes all day long. He's an engineer, and they like precision. So if you think this is worth doing, then I'm willing to step in and begin to try to conceptualize it, and I'll be working with the dean. And it'll take a while, but maybe that'll be an excuse to get us back together again. Thank you.
Okay, we've had our little bit of fun here. I'm here. You know why you're all here. Okay, someone once long ago gave me a book as a graduation present. It was entitled Which Niche? She doesn't remember, anyway. Well, you did. You've repressed the memory. Anyway, I'm now considering trying to find a way to, I've been offered a job at a charter high school in Marina, which is near where I live in Carmel, to teach as a history teacher in the fall. And I would like to do it. So I've got to deal with the teaching credential thing now, starting that horrible process. So I don't know, I seem to get the age thing mixed up. I mean, you're supposed to do that when you get out of college or something, or, or early, you know, if I'm going to start a career as I'm reaching this retirement age, sort of, you know. So we'll see what happens. It'll be another adventure. I really do, the thing I've gotten from today's, everyone's little testimonials, has been the idea of how, well, really fast on our feet we all seem to be, you know, after this experience. I don't know whether that is the going abroad or just the openness, the ways it was designed to have us get to know these authority figures, you know, and each other especially. I know it had sort of a Noah's Ark effect the first year. No one knew what kind of a school it was going to be, so you got all these people, you know, and we all valued each other because we needed people, and here they were, you know, and maybe in a high school setting we wouldn't have picked them as our, oh no, that's not my kind of person, that kind of thing. But we had to outgrow that and deal with people as they were, and broadened ourselves and found the value of each of us, and, you know, our precious uniqueness was allowed to develop and flourish. And so, well, you know, if it ever develops, that is, you know, it's always potentially there, but you know, there's just so, well, let's just think of the bright side of things. Anyway, so I'll just hand it off to you.
Well, gosh, this is great. Of course, when I left Callison, I didn't go too far away. I married Martha McClellan, and then we had a little, it was a natural food store that sold wine also here. Oh, and so we had that for a few years, and then we said, boy, this Stockton is pretty nice. We could stay here and sell natural foods and wine, but we decided to go for a ride up in the country just outside here in a place called Nevada City up in the foothills. And so we bought property up there, and then we had a child together who's now 24 years old, Heidi, and she is now working in San Francisco in a publishing house of Dave Eggers, Heidi married. Martha and I have since been divorced, but we remain good friends, and she has a place, it's a retail store up in the city. And I've done a number of things as a musician, of course, and then I've also helped start a radio station up there. I had a production company for a while, and then I lived in Malibu for a while, and I bought and sold real estate for a while, and then I was building houses, and I got into plumbing and a little electricity, and now I'm back being a musician again. In fact, I was hired to play my sitar in a big 13-piece or about 15-piece orchestra up in Nevada City, and I said, boy, I had to put moleskin on my fingers to play the sitar again. But that's sort of what and I'm still love it around here. Although I never come down to Stockton, but it was hard for me to find where the quad was. Everything's sort of changed around here, but that's what I'm doing, and it's so great to see everybody. Thank you.
Some folks asked me what I was doing now, and I never did say that I'm an elected official in San Jose, capital of Silicon Valley, my 14th year on a major school board. I've worked on Capitol Hill with the California State Legislature, Director of Planning for United Way of the Bay Area. I've had a career working with city managers, elected officials, nonprofits. I also, in my life path, went not only politics and public policy, but began a very deep personal journey to understand more about the deeper meaning of life, and it took me on a spiritual path that really has been an integration of the world's wisdom traditions and spiritual paths. That is leading, now I'm working on a book about a new consciousness in the public process, in public leadership and politics. Title of my book is The Reconciliation of Love and Power. And it's really just coming up, you know, it's almost like channeling, and everything is coming into this process of writing it, just my travels, my learning, just the inquiry process, and everything that I've already shared before. So,
hi, my name's Emmy Cree, and I didn't actually start out in Callison College. I started out in COP, but I had the good fortune to end up in Carter House with Nancy Jaffe, who's not here. I don't know if anybody's heard from her. I didn't have enough sense to want to go to India, but I did go to Mexico at the end of my sophomore year. And then every year I was going to finish the year and then go back to home to Tucson, but I was stubborn and I stuck it out. So my senior year I went to Japan, and my dad died when I was there, so I came back in January and finished here. My mom used to tell a story. I was one of the first ones, I think, to get a degree in international studies. Up to that point, it was either humanities or social science. And my mom used to tell a story that when I got my degree, I looked at it and said, "Oh, that's what I majored in." Which wasn't true. But I joined the Peace Corps and spent 2.5 years in Paraguay after that. In fact, I just got back from there just a couple days, just yesterday. First time I'd been back. And my daughter is 18. I have a 16-year-old son. My daughter has already spent a month in Oaxaca and a month in Ecuador, and now she is starting college and is going to go to Guatemala. So I've been successful with her. My son, he's a little bit too much into video games, but we'll see what happens. I'm working with immigrant women in a family literacy project in Tucson, and I learned from being in Mexico. I just want to tell a funny story. I mean, I with Martin Buber, you know, the I-thou. I know it had a big effect on my life because I thought I had an I-thou relationship with a road in Tucson. Pima Road. I had an I-thou relationship with Pima Road in Tucson. But it's con los pobres de la tierra quiero mi verso echar. With the poor people of the world, I want to share my verse. And I was the shy one. I didn't talk much. At the 10-year reunion, I was told that the faculty considered me a sleeper, which didn't mean I slept around. You didn't hear from me much. But now I am a musician, and I play bluegrass and Western music, and I wrote a screenplay about Django Reinhardt, so talk to Dow. So I haven't had any interest in it, but anyway, I just had to get up and say my piece. So thank you. It's wonderful to be here.